My name is on.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Do I have to do the intro now,
have to be
Dan?
the host
Oh
now.
my god. This was not part of the plan.
Yeah,
Look,
work
there's
it out.
Dan. All right. So hello everybody and welcome to our let's see, it's not a podcast, right, Dan? It's a
This is
stream.
a stream.
It's a
sir.
stream.
This is a Twitch stream.
All right. We have special guest star on our stream, Ben.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So
I appreciate it.
this is going to be a weird episode because Dan's going to be like lurking in the background and yeah, just occasionally peek in.
Yeah. The more you can cover this area, the better.
But it's weird because I always count on Dan to just completely derail the stream. And,
Oh, don't worry, I can do that for you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, don't
good.
worry, I
All
won't.
right, all right.
No, I got that.
So, Ben, you work at the Heroic Adventure Store in
Yeah,
Edwardsville.
I
yes.
work at Heroic Ventures. I'm one of the managers there.
Yeah.
I manage. We have kind of our two. Got me and Erin, who you might know from here, Fantasy Books and Games. She was ours first.
That's what
when
I
she was
hear.
in college.
Yeah.
So we worked together back then, but now, so I'm in charge of all the nice comic books, collectibles, Funko bits, and she does all the gaming stuff.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So let's just talk about some books that come out tomorrow. I got a huge stack of stuff to highlight, and you got a couple of books you're going to talk about too.
Yeah.
The first couple of books I just want to burn through here are just some stuff that I think are notable that might be worth talking about. I'm pretty sure I've actually talked about It's Jeff before on this stream because this is the third printing of the book. So we probably talked about it on either the second or first printing. I don't know. But I just think it's funny the way Marvel just keeps reprinting this book and it keeps selling. People are into
the fact
it.
too, there was also a digital first. Like all of this has
Exactly.
been out there digitally online.
It's been out
like
forever.
A year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, every time I see a new printing, I'm like, oh, good, they're finally doing a new one, and it's just it's the same story. But everybody's getting excited for it, and they keep promising new.
There's a new one. Yeah, we just did. I think it was in this last month's previews.
Right.
So it should be coming your way soon.
It's finally coming out, and so Marvel just keeps pushing out these second and third printings because they want everybody to be up to date. Ironically, it's like this is such a fun comic because there's no like lore or continuity or anything that you need to follow. It's just like short stories about the cutest little land shark you've ever seen. I would actually go as far as say he's aggressively cute.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's maybe something about the teeth that just makes him look aggressive.
It is, yeah, and the round body, and just looks
kind
like
of looking like a spheal. It just really.
But anyway, so if you missed this book the first two times it was printed, now's your opportunity to grab it, and then you'll be ready for the next the new issue that will finally come out. We swear, Marvel swears. Just another book to highlight real quick: Berserker by everybody's favorite actor Keanu Reeves.
Add this to my pool.
Okay, we'll add it to your poll, Susie.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
I'll do it at my
no.
store, Susie. It's fine. You can come down.
There you
can
go.
visit us. We'll take care.
So Berserker is another book. They just put out the third trade paperback, I think last week.
Yeah, last week. So the
full run is out there now.
Yeah.
And I thought we're done with Berserker. But here we are. We have a reprint of issue 1, but it's a pretty good specialty reprint. It reprints the whole issue in black and white. So this is kind of like an artist edition where you can see just the inks and the clean artwork. But then there's also along the bottom of the page, you can kind of see here, there's a commentary by the artist Ron Garney. And I always really like this kind of stuff because I like getting to see just kind of the insight of the artist of what he was thinking when he went into the page, the various challenges that he faced, keeping characters on model or just how you even lay out something. Because one of the fun things about making comics, a lot of people don't think about it, the relationship between the writer and the artist. Because a lot of times, comic book scripts vary wildly. There's no set standard for how a script is supposed to look.
They vary very wildly?
They vary very wildly. Verily, they vary very wildly. And so a lot of times you'll hear artists complain the writer gets credited with all the ideas, and then the script will be page 1, Batman fights 50 ninjas. And that's it. And then the artist has to figure out how to make it look cool, And it's let me just hunker down for a week and do that. and for the writer, it's literally typing a sentence into a computer. So this is a nice little like a behind the scenes look into the process, and also it does have like that little extra notable thing about it that it is a book based off of a celebrity's idea. So there's a lot of the like working with the writer Matt Kent, but then also working with Keanu Reeves and his ideas for pitching the book. So it's good stuff. I like I said, I love all that background information out there.
No, it's fun. It's fascinating if you want to get into the background and the lore and stuff. Does it
Mhm.
actually have any? Because sometimes they'll do script pages actually in the very back.
I
Do
didn't
they do?
see any script
No?
pages. I
No
think
script
it's
pages.
just the commentary.
Ooh, you don't
So
get that very often.
no,
There
yeah,
you go.
exactly. It is a rare treat
Good on
too.
you, Ron Garney.
It is something that I see. I've seen it before. I think once, maybe twice. No. I've seen it twice. I have one comic, 8 Billion Genies. They released like an audio commentary issue that I got, and there was another book like 20 years ago. It's my favorite indie book from Slave Labor Graphics called Rex Libris, and the first issue actually released as like a gimmick with an audio commentary by the creators, but it was all like fiction, like the fake creators of the book.
Yeah.
And it was a great idea for a joke, but they only did it for one issue because I think they realized it was more trouble than it was worth.
Yeah. No, I love when they do a director's cut. I also I know you're an artist.
Mhm.
I'm not. I'm actually more of a writer. I actually did a lot of writing stuff in college and doing all that. So for me, that part actually is very interesting. I love the art. The art is part what makes
Mhm.
comics, sequential art as a medium great.
Right.
I love melding the two. So I love seeing some of them. I know I had some from DC back, like Snyder and Capullo. They have one for like
Mhm.
death metal and some stuff like that for the Owls, maybe.
Mhm.
Where they'd say one page would be the scripting, and then the next page you see how that actually turned out. And
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
kind of seeing that back and forth.
How it comes
uh,
together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is also interesting because it's in very vague, and depending on what the creative team is too, it's also fun seeing their like notes or back and forth.
Yes,
Like here,
yes.
Batman's going to fight 500 ninjas. Greg, you just kind of do your thing. If you
Yeah,
want to do
yeah.
whatever, here's my idea. You want to cut it down, that's fine. You want to make them like cyborg ninjas, whatever. I'm cool.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
do whatever you want. Like it's very interesting to see like which writers are very like structured and they
Mhm.
want it very much like their vision, and some are just like, hey, we're gonna do this. Here's the words. However you want to arrange the panels and do anything, like go nuts. And so it's fun to see too when you see creative teams.
The
come through
phrase
process.
the phrase I use often when I'm writing a script and I don't want to have to think too much is I just say I have like a paragraph describing what happens and then I'll end it with just have fun with it, and that's
Just have fun with it.
code for artists figure it out.
Yeah.
So let's move on to some other notable stuff.
Yeah.
Superman number 7
Look at
/
that.
number 850 anniversary issue. I have been reading this book and I am loving it. I haven't
Oh,
read this
yes.
issue yet, but this is one of the my favorite books that comes out every month. Just
Oh yeah, no,
awesome
Joshua
book.
Williamson is just killing it here with Superman.
yeah, he really
Absolutely love
is. It just feels like I love it. It just feels like classic Superman. Each issue feels substantial, which is a big thing for me within monthly comics. Is I don't want to feel like I'm just reading like part of a larger story that's like the boring part of the larger story.
Mhm.
You know, I want like something going on in each issue, and this issue definitely, or I don't know this issue. I haven't read it yet, so I don't want to flip through it too much because I don't want to spoil myself.
Spoil
But this series has been really good.
It's been
I'm enjoying it.
really, really fun. I'm a humble brag. I got to a retailer Zoom meeting with Josh Williamson before they even launched this one.
Nice.
And the fun part was like actually getting to talk to him, ask him some questions. One of the interesting things that I loved about him is pitch and take. We've seen it now through now 7 issues. He's like, you know what? I'm a big fan of like the toys and the action figure stuff. And like Superman has no cool action figures. Like my goal was to like make a bunch of kind of new stuff that
Mhm.
really like Todd McFarlane would start making more Superman. Like I gave
Yeah.
him like the whole Super Core and stuff like that. He's like, no, I want the Superman spaceship. I want different alternate
Yeah.
costume versions, kind of like Superman the animated series. You
Yeah.
had different kind of things doing that, and you see that here, not only taking like classic Superman villains, but some new stuff too, and doing some really fun new villains and creative stuff. I love this overall stories going with the one with that Kryptonite Claw
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Like that's such just a cool visual idea.
The book is
And-
full of great
yeah.
visuals.
For sure.
So this is definitely, and this is an oversized anniversary issue. So I imagine there's probably going to be some people that might check this out, even if they're not following the series, just because it's it's an anniversary. You got to check it out. But I think you will enjoy it, and definitely pick up the previous issues and keep following it.
Oh yeah, it's great. Tons of great variant covers for it as well from some top artists.
Yes,
like
yeah. There's a
gorgeous
ton of
stuff.
variants.
I
Every
love the David
every
Finch
issue.
one. They have the foil Jim Lee
Yeah.
one Icon series thing is really cool. Oh, what was the other one? I can't remember. There's too many. There was a
There's
lot.
too many. Yeah.
They're all great though, but
Up
great for my
next,
wallet.
another standard in my poll, The Forge. This one gets the personal seal of approval from Dan.
Ooh.
Come on in there. There is a thumbs up from Dan. I'm glad that this issue is back on, or this series is back on track with the regular release schedule. So I think I've talked about this every time I talk about this issue, but I almost didn't pick this up in issue form because of the format, because it's so oversized, and it's just makes it that much more difficult to store. But I have to say, I can't imagine reading this book in any other way than the oversized format, because I think it really the art deserves to be at this big size. Like, there's a lot of books you see. I mean, you see those like when they release like absolute editions,
Yeah.
or it's like everybody likes oversized art. I think
I mean,
almost always
it's the best way. And a lot of people don't know, like, it usually starts in that big it's usually 11
by 17 page,
and gets
yeah.
shrunk down. So when you can see it and it's full, I can really get all the. I mean, depending on the artist too.
Mhm.
Some of them are very detail oriented.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I have one of like Sean Murphy. They
Oh,
did
yeah.
one for Tokyo Ghost. And I got one. It's an artist proof. It's a full like first 2 issues, but all in 11 by 17s.
Wow.
And being able to like see all that detail is great. So that's one thing. I'm with you too. It's hard to
Mhm.
store a little bit. I have some magazine boxes and stuff, but the format, especially for the artist, like, it really lets them shine.
Yeah.
What about digital artists?
Digital artists.
Listen to Dan. You're not on this stream, and you're trying to stir stuff up.
You know what? Digital artists, their stuff looks great too. And getting that enhanced. And, getting to the detail.
It's funny you mentioned that, because
Wow.
you're trying to get Susie. Trying to get
Riling
Susie here, but
Susie up.
I will say one of the things about Forge that I like the most is it has these beautiful, beautiful colors that can only be achieved through digital effects.
Yes.
So there's like a lot of times when you hear me complain about art, you will hear me complain about the coloring, because I think that's usually that's the area where a lot of people cut corners, and if you don't have a good colorist, it'll really, really, really ruin the look of your book. And this, I think that's one thing that needs to be highlighted. Colors by Nolan Woodard.
Mm-hmm.
This book, it's really cool art, and it's cool story. I like space adventures. I like mech suits. I like magical psionic space witches. It's pretty much everything you want in a epic space opera. So definitely, the trade paperback came out several weeks ago. Pick it up, and then you can pick up these newest 2 issues. I think you will enjoy it if you like that sort of thing. All right, let's shift away from some of the stuff that's in my polls, Ben. Let's talk about some of the stuff that you pulled out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So one I pulled, I think, has been one of the best.
Set it on top here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best books that's been going on really for the last year, especially at DC. It's both that. There's one other ones between this. I will say Mark Waid and Dan Mora's World's Finest are probably my 2 like most consistent, best done things.
We're gonna get to World's Finest that comes out tomorrow.
Yes. But anyway, you see Nightwing. Tom Taylor has just been knocking it out of the park. You might know him from things like Injustice, Dark Knights of Steel recently, stuff like that. But he's been doing this run on Nightwing. It has been absolutely phenomenal. The Bruno Ronaldo, his artwork, also incredible. These guys also, if you didn't see last year, they won tons of Eisner Awards for these books. I like it because it not only is traditional your kind of super comic book, it also has more of the, not just like, oh man, I'm brooding in a clock tower and I got to go fight bad guys. It's the everyday bits. You get a lot of bits where like, cool, it's him waking up in the morning to his little dog, Haley, aka Bitewing, like licking his face, and just like the little everyday stuff too, which I like that. I like that adding a little bit of slice of life bit makes you just really care about the characters more and really get into it. And then a little something for.
I was gonna say
one of the. Want to flip back to the front cover if you guys didn't see that.
Yeah.
Come for the Sea's immaculate beauty. Stay for Nightwing's pirate booty.
I was gonna say it's become quite a
running
like
joke.
A running gag. That's a way to put it. Yeah, running joke of like
joke.
Nightwing's sexiness.
Yep.
And DC has been absolutely slaying it with their variant covers of
Ye-
like super sexy Dick
Yes.
Grayson.
No, they're all about it. They've been going hard on it, and so that's been very fun. But it's been an absolute fantastic book. I think the first two or three volumes are out now. Highly recommend. Can't recommend it enough. If you love Dick Grayson or just intrigued at all, you get a lot of Batgirl too with Barbara Gordon in there as well. Super fun book. They have fun with it, and you can tell, like the creative team. It had one small thing where it got stuck in a big kind of crossover with other stuff last year, but other than that, it's pretty much it's on its own. You can read it, and it's just so great. And then they also have tons of great covers for it. But then we also want to highlight these guys that are out this week.
Yeah, these
a couple came out 2 weeks ago as well.
Trick or Treat covers.
Yeah,
is that what they
Trick or
are?
Treat covers by Chrissy Zullo. I want to shout her out. She's doing fantastic work. I love these. These are actually my Halloween decorations this year in my house. I have them all framed and like hung up in my hallway. It's absolutely great. But they're just fun, cool little trick or treat things. There's also a great Dan Mora one from Nightwing. I didn't bring that one with me, but there's tons of other stuff. And they also have
Titans
Look at that.
Trick or Treat
Look
cover.
at them. They're
Yeah,
watching spooky movies together.
I have
It's so adorable.
I have complicated feelings about variant covers.
Yeah.
But I like if you're gonna do them like this, I appreciate a good theme. Like
Yeah, a thematic.
a thematic use of variant covers.
Why don't you like variant covers?
It's because
That's great. I don't know. Why don't
It's
you like
it's
variant
because Susie draws them.
covers? Susie draws them?
Yeah, Susie draws variant covers, so I don't like Susie, so I don't like that she draws variant covers. See, that's the engagement we were looking for with this show.
That's
what we're
right.
trying to do.
Hot takes.
But really, Ben said he didn't know why you don't like variant covers.
Well,
Sure.
the
Unless
the
you're gonna
real-
get onto like
no,
a real old crotchety man
I-
rant on me, and I just open a box. Can of
No,
worms.
I don't have time to go into. I don't have anything personal against variant covers. I just do think that there's a problem. You know,
I will straight up say there's too many of them.
there's too many of
Too
them, and also there's a problem where I do think for every person that buys an extra variant cover, there are people that won't buy it because they want the main cover, and so then you're stuck trying to find covers. And I also think there's an interesting dilemma that hasn't manifested itself, and I don't know if it will manifest itself in some way, but it's the lack of cultural cohesion from not having a specific image associated with a specific book. We're seeing so much.
That is a great point.
Right. And so we're seeing so much homage covers where everybody's like that homage to Amazing Spider-Man 129 and homage to this.
Spider-Man
and it's
300,
Spider-Man 300. But it's if there was 20 different covers for Amazing Spider-Man 300 and they were all just as legitimate as the other one, I don't know if we would all feel the same way about it.
No, I think that's definitely, and that's something a lot of retailers and other people say, the best cover should be the A cover, right?
Right.
Also, how do you, I can get on to, I'm just going to trigger you now. How do you feel about it when the A cover artist is not the interior artist also? Where you get kind of, oh, cool, this looks like really cool art. And then you flip it over like, wow, that's nothing at all like this cover art.
That's a big problem. I think what I dislike more than that, we're just gonna ignore Susie.
I won't ignore you.
I'm less. So I am bothered by that. I think
I got disappointed when I opened up your variant cover and it wasn't your art.
That's right.
Inside. I didn't realize it was a variant because
We need a full Susie book.
Yeah, Susie's got to be on the stream next week to defend herself from these harsh attacks on her. No, I think there's. That's a practice that's been going on for a long time. You get Neil Adams to do the cover, but he's not drawing the whole book. You get John Romita did all the Spider-Man Marvel covers, but he wasn't the interior artist for a long time in the 70s. You had Ross Andrew kind of picking up the heavy lifting there. But so that's not a new thing. I think a bigger problem is more that the drastically varying styles that you'll see for a cover artist, where because like all the examples I just cited, that was John Romita's the great artist that he was. He does the cover, but then the interior art, it's somebody working in a John Romita style. So you might be able to recognize that it's a house style, right? And same thing with Neil Adams in DC. Yeah. Neil Adams was the house style of DC. But now you have things where people they do cover art because covers now have to look like little mini movie posters, and I don't like that. So then you have something where you'll have a cover that looks kind of interesting. Oh, that's an interesting design thing. That's cool art. But then the interior art is just really like it doesn't even look like it's a part of the same design that went into the cover. And that probably bothers me more than just it not being the same artist.
That's fair. As someone who does buy, I'm on both. I waffle back and forth in choosing variants because I love someone because I just love that art or you love that artist a lot.
Sure.
And I understand, some artists they make. If you didn't know, they make a lot more money drawing a cover than
That's
they do
why
the
they do
interior
it.
work.
Yeah.
And so some you'll only see like cool Peach Momoko. She rarely ever does
Right.
full interior works, just mostly covers. Same with Art Germ. I think there's some other big ones that are out there.
Yeah.
Now that
Well, I
people
mean,
know,
like an example from my pull box is I'm really enjoying the new Shazam series, and I talk about it.
I love it.
I talk about it on every stream that it comes out. But I'm buying the Chris Samney covers because I love Chris Samney. He's a great artist, but he's doing the variants for it. So, but see, that's the problem now because like my my collector brain, now they have to all be Chris Samney covers. So I have to make sure I always get the B cover.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started on different covers and switching the artists.
All right, Dan, get back over here. We're gonna get back on track.
Get us back to song. This
So-
train is going off the rails on variant covers.
So just
Stop.
a brief mention of another book that I'm really enjoying in my pull, Wild's End. I just absolutely love this book. It is I love talking animal books. I love like old literature style sci-fi, you could say. It's very H.G. Wellsian. And this is a good book.
This is one I have not actually read
So
at all. I didn't.
I highly. This is like the third volume, I think, of it. But so that actually bothers me too. That it's called Wild's End, and it's just number 5. But that's not to be confused with Wild's End number 5 that came out like 5 years ago. But anyway, I highly recommend this book. It's just aliens invade. I think the selling point of it was it's a War of the Worlds mixed with Wind in the Willows. So it's just these like it's a small Irish town, like seaside town. Aliens invade, and this is a ship of a crew that was out to sea, and they come back, and everybody's just gone, and they have to try to figure out what happened, and they find aliens, and they're abducting people. It's really good, great stuff. But what's so good about it is that it has really great characters, character drama, character interaction. The art is really clean too. I really like it. Like it doesn't. Like a lot of problems I have with when you have like talking animal comics that work in like a cartoony style, where it's kind of done in a way where it looks like it's meant to be an animation cell, like kind of, I don't want to say too simple, but simplistic enough where you feel like they just want to animate off of it. Where this is like pretty lush artwork. I really like the detail that goes into the character designs. You can get just like a feel for a lot of what these, like the personality of the characters based off what animal they are and how they're drawn. And that's one of the reasons I love talking animal comics. So if you haven't read Wild's End, highly recommend it. I think it's just good sci-fi action fun. I don't know what else I could say. Moving on. Okay, we already gave a preview that we were excited about this book. Batman Superman World's Finest, number 20, Return to Kingdom Come. Why is this a big deal? Why is it a big deal that we're returning to Kingdom Come? Ben, I ask you why.
Ben, you asked me. Well, Kingdom Come is, if you have not read it, I think one of the better DC Elseworlds. I will maybe. I don't know. I want to like bold prediction, like maybe the best. It's up there. It's probably in my. It's probably in my personal top.
It's certainly probably the most famous.
Yes.
Of all of them.
Also, just iconic. I mean,
that's what I mean.
You had. I'm blanking on his name.
Alex Ross.
Alex Ross. I was going to say, I wanted to combine him and Neil Adams. Like Neil Ross.
Neil Ross, Alex Adams. Those feel like artist names.
They do. But yeah, you had his just iconic, great looking art that just was phenomenal. And it's, I mean, everyone's seen the classic, just this futuristic Superman. I mean, you saw like even in the CW crossover when they did the one. Yeah, that was the big kind of end teaser thing with. Now I can't blank on his name. But, Superman.
The actor from Superman Returns.
Superman Returns. What was his name?
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh. Why? How do we forget that one? That should have.
I associate him forever with Scott Pilgrim.
I do. Yeah. Oh, so excited for that animated version. Oh, the
yes.
trailer came out like a couple days ago.
It's gonna be good.
But anywho, World's Finest. It's been fantastic. Mark Waid has been doing an amazing job with it. Dan Moore's art. He is a beast. I don't know how he puts out as much as he does as quickly as he does. Right. I don't know if he's actually human. I have not seen him in real life, and I kind of like. I'm debating.
especially
know.
with how good the art
Yes,
is.
the quality is always constantly there, and now he's been doing variant covers too for stuff. And I'm
Right,
just like,
right.
how do you? I don't know. How you, like, you're an artist. You tell me. You and Susie.
Uh,
I don't know how you put out this much product.
I
in that
do
amount
I
of
do
time.
wonder how much of this stuff is like stuff that he's banked over time, like because he's doing that
Well, I guess they
World's
had-
Finest Teen Titans
Yeah.
series, and
No,
that's just like
no.
a 6-issue.
Uh,
Oh, that's not him.
Moore is not doing the art of that.
Oh, I thought he
No.
was. What am I
No.
thinking?
Wade's writing it. But
Yeah,
Moore
no,
is
no,
not
no,
doing the art of it.
Shazam, right?
Yeah,
Is-
he's doing
that's
Shazam.
what I was
Those
thinking.
are the two books that he's currently working
Yeah,
on.
sorry,
Dan
I'm-
Moore is doing those two.
I get my Mark Wades and my
Yeah.
Dan Moras and my
Get it together, guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
jeez. It's just a lot to keep up with, is all I'm saying. Well, I
Yes.
mean, because you remember the past couple of issues of World's Finest, actually, Dan Moore did not draw. So
Yes,
they
he
had
did have a
fill
little
in
bit of,
artists, guest artists. So
I think that was also during the time when Shazam first launched.
mhm.
That was if it kind of coincided.
And
with
then
that, I think that's
Shazam
where
did
that-
their Night Terrors, and he didn't draw the Night Terrors issues of
Yeah.
those either. So it's like it's all like perfectly constructed, where like whatever he can do both of those two books, and then like that month there's like a fill-in artist working, or there's
Yeah.
a crossover or something. So yeah, it's but he's yeah, he is a beast, like you said. He
Yes.
just churns
Uh,
out excellent work.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. And he does his own inking and coloring too, I believe.
Mm.
Uh,
I
does he
think
do color? I'm pretty sure I thought I'd seen
it's
him.
yeah, he's
No,
he-
okay, Steve Wands.
yeah. Steve Wands is the letter.
Right. Oh,
Tamara
okay. Sorry, I'm reading this
Bon Villain.
Is it
What an
right?
awesome name. Tamara
Sorry.
Bon Villain
Yeah.
is the colors. But still, he is doing his own inks, which
Yeah.
is pretty standard for comic book industry
Yeah.
these days.
Well, yeah, he's digital as well.
Yes.
So he's
yeah.
a digital artist, but he does such an amazing job. And the storyline, this is actually kind of paying off a bit from the first story arc.
Yeah, because
Second
they already
second story arc.
this is the second story arc
Yeah.
where they had the
Introduced Superman's unknown, forgotten sidekick that he had for a little bit.
Thunderman.
Yes,
There he is, right there. And
Thunder.
so the connection.
Thunder Boy at the time.
Yeah,
Thunder
Thunder
Boy.
Boy. Now he's Thunderman.
Yeah.
The connection to Kingdom Come is an interesting connection, which is there's a character who's essentially he's the antagonist of Kingdom Come, which is Magog,
Mhm.
who is a superhero who is very brutal, and the whole thing was a commentary on then current superheroes, the 90s superheroes who were
Mhm.
extreme with a capital E and an X and maybe
Yeah.
a couple extra
This
X's
was
in there.
done, what, 97, 98?
Kingdom Come? No. Yeah, that sounds about right. It was,
It was
I want to
right
say
at the end of the
I want to
aughts.
say 96, but it's close enough that it would they've had time to look at Image, the formation of Image Comics, and popular characters like Spawn and Youngblood and Wildcats, and also the Marvel characters that those creators also did, like Cable and Deadpool. And I think Alex Ross even directly said that he was just trying to do his version of Cable because he hated the design for Cable more than anything, and he just wanted to do the ugliest version of Cable he could think of, and he succeeded because it's not a great looking character, but it would be a character that I have no trouble believing that would show up like in an issue of Youngblood.
Yep.
You know,
Oh, easily.
so so that was a character. Like Kingdom Come is kind of a commentary on the then in the 1990s, which 30 years ago.
What?
Oh my God, we're all old.
Oh my God.
It was commentary on what was then
Dad, give
considered
me my pills.
to be the
My heart.
like the new wave of types of superheroes versus the traditional superheroes. And DC I think that's something that DC has always kind of owned a little bit more than Marvel, which is they have the golden age heroes, Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, and they've always kind of held them to a certain like a pedigree of like they're like gods and they're ultra good and kind of moralistic.
Yeah.
And you certainly now, since then, they've done several stories about moral complications of the characters. But at the time, it was very much Batman has a code; he doesn't kill.
Yeah.
And whereas these new heroes are like, we have no problem killing because they're bad guys, so who cares? And that was the central conflict of Kingdom Come, or the basis for everything. And so Mark Waid and Dan Mora did a story in Volume 2 of World's Finest,
Batman, Superman,
where they
World's Finest,
introduced this kid who was Thunder Boy, which he was from a parallel dimension, and Superman kind of adopted him, wanted to take him under his wing and show him how to be a good hero. and then the twist was that it's revealed that he grows up to be Magog, the character from Kingdom Come, who is the brutal, violent hero who has no problem killing people. So it's an interesting angle to take. If you'd have told me they wanted to tie in with Kingdom Come, I would have rolled my eyes. And generally, I mean, if it was anybody other than Mark Waid writing it,
yes,
it's like
agreed. Someone else took what he did.
Yeah, if somebody else was like, it's the same as when they're like, we want to tie into the Dark Knight Returns universe or Watchmen. I don't have much else to say about that, but I think Mark Waid, being the creator, I think he's kind of running with. I always wonder if this is like an idea that he's had for a long time, or if he just like something one day just clicked in his head and he's like, you know what, let's just do it. Like, why not? Just trying to come up with fun, bombastic things to do for World's Finest.
I like to imagine that he was opening up his mail one day and saw his residual check from Kingdom Come. Like, this, we need to pump this up. This number needs to be higher. How can I rejuvenate, get people talking about Kingdom Come?
There is that thought where it's like, hey, remember Kingdom Come? Everybody go out and buy it again because you're going to need to read it to understand.
Available now at all your fantasy book Inc. Corporation.
That's right. We got it on the shelf.
Yeah.
I will say the good thing though is like I feel like you don't have to read Kingdom Come to really get this.
No, not at all.
I think it's that is really good.
Which does a really good job. That's a great job on his part writing and getting into it, where you can just pick it up and easily follow it.
Because like before they even revealed, I thought the central conflict for the character just of Superman trying to be a good mentor. That's enough. That's a good story in and of itself. And then just the idea that it then ties into Kingdom Come, like that's just like a little extra.
It's Superman's sidekick?
Yes.
Why does Superman need a sidekick?
Well, at the time, so another thing, if you didn't know, World's Finest is taking place in the past.
The past.
It's a vague past kind of thing.
Why did he need a sidekick?
Why
well,
well, at a certain point in the 60s, everybody had a sidekick, right? There was little Superboy. You had Robin. A lot of this, when World's Finest, you saw a lot of Robin in that first one. Same with Supergirl was around there too. So the idea of him having a sidekick, because most characters have in their history. I mean, there was obviously going back to Superboy. A lot of time was a younger.
Well, Superboy was Clark Kent,
today,
but Supergirl was more of his sidekick when she was introduced.
Yeah,
but even that was more of like it was like a mentor role where he wasn't really like it wasn't like his boy sidekick. Like Supergirl was his cousin, a Kryptonian that he was just trying to mentor into like figuring out how to live on Earth and be a good person, be a good hero.
And it was the same basic thing.
And it was the same thing
with. He's on this new. It's an Earth, but it's not his Earth, and it's weird. And he now used to be just a normal boy, and now he's got powers.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you handle that? How do you train him and do that? What does he turn out? And I think part of it too is Superman seeing how Batman does it. At that point in the story, it was only Dick Grayson, but he sees how Batman operates and does his thing. So how would he turn out if Batman then raises him to use his superpowers or whatever? I think he's like, hey, you know what? You got your hands full with Robin. Let me I'll take this one. I got this one.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It just works to Superman's character of like he feels like he has to save everyone and always do the right thing. That's a very Superman-esque trait. So I think that's a good angle to take for like a sidekick. Whereas, Dan, do you have anything you want to add to?
No, it's just.
I know. We still got to stack here.
That's fine.
No, that's all right.
Anyway, Batman, Superman, World's Finest.
It's good.
It's amazing.
It's really good.
It's great.
It's great.
It's great.
All right.
It is the finest.
Let's.
Yes.
Let's. I don't want to talk about that yet. No, we're going to talk about. Let's talk about Hexagon Bridge because I don't have a whole lot to say about this other than it's a really good looking book. This is like slow, methodical, hard science fiction, which I really enjoy. I feel like I kind of need to reread the first issue to kind of get what's happening because there's kind of a time jump. It feels like.
Who's this by again?
So this is by Richard Blake. He's writer, artist. Everything is by him. So that's another reason I really like this.
Dad?
Yeah, they related?
Related?
You know what? That's a good
cousin?
question, Susie. How come you didn't tell me that your dad does this indie? It's like one of my favorite indie comics that's coming out right now, 2 months in a row. No, it's a good book. It's beautiful, beautiful artwork. It's like a less of a like superhero trope version of a parallel dimensional door shows up, and more of just like a hard sci-fi version of that. Like they have to send cartographers into the door to try and map it to like figure out what's going on in this other universe, and then they disappear, and then the cartographer's daughter grows up and is on a mission to like find them. Pretty straightforward, but it's just really really well done. There's robots in it. Cool stuff. Yeah,
Everybody loves robots.
Robots, really good stuff. Moving on, because we're on a time crunch here. Dan's cracking the whip on me. He's sitting there. So here's a book.
Oh, this one's great.
This book, I cannot recommend this enough. Local Man.
Same here.
This is issue number 6, but it's actually the 7th issue of the series because they have to do that thing where they did a special, and it was the Local Man.
I love the special too.
It was so
good, and it kept me. I was actually surprised in the little bits where they added in some different
all the
Image
cameos
flavors and cameos.
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
That. So great. This is really just a great love letter to just Image Comics in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. As much as I will trash Image Comics quite often, I still have the specifically the 90s Image Comics.
Yeah.
But I have a soft spot for it because I really enjoyed the just like the energy and the excitement that was going on. It really was like we were just talking about Kingdom Come, how it was like new versus old, and the new did have a certain something that the old lacked. And that is all on display in this book. I love the central premise that the main character, his superhero name, Crossjack, is copyrighted and owned by the superhero team that he got kicked out of. And so he's legally prohibited from wearing his costume or using his name to solve crimes. Really, just like a nice, fun angle. It's a good book. This is the one I've probably been pushing the most on everybody.
It is super great. I as well have trying to be pushing up my store. It's not been doing super great. The first trade's out. Definitely read it. It's worth the read for sure. I absolutely love it. I love the fun bits too that he does with it too. So if I can steal
go
this,
for it.
So we're gonna show Dan if we can flip over here. So you got that. You also have
flip book,
a little flip book too. So it's nice because you have your main story, and then you also have a very like set in that 90s, that like when he was a superhero kind of thing. And so it continues on a little small story from there. And does that for each issue, which is fantastic. And then gets the classic. I also love Tim Seeley's his hot takes.
I was
here.
just
about
about
to talk about this.
I was just about to talk about this.
This one.
You like hot takes, right?
Okay, so
I love following it on what was formerly I quit X, Twitter, whatever. I need to get to Threads or something. Like
right.
I don't know, but because I loved following him and seeing his industry just take.
So this is something that I used to love about reading comic books, is getting that editorial. Like even going back to Stan Lee and Stan's Soapbox, and just whenever somebody makes a book, I love that there's an editorial of them just kind of directly addressing the reader, talking about whatever's going on. And so I'm always a little disappointed whenever that's not in a book these days. And I realize that it's not as important now because we have social media and things like you said, Facebook.
It's still great, but it just makes you kind of feel like part of a community. I think that's what Saga does so well. Because that's one thing, you people who are just only in there for the trades, you've missed out on just a ton of great stuff in those letter columns.
Right.
That has been fantastic. The community that shows off, the questions, the costume contest, and the general just like reader surveys and stuff like that. I used to love that. Sex Criminals did a great one from Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. I always butcher it. But that one was phenomenal as well. What else is doing one right now? Oh, all the Kyle Higgins stuff in the Massiveverse. If you guys knew, Radiant Black, Rogue Sun was one that came out today. I should have grabbed that off.
Yeah,
that's another one that I've really been loving. But again, that same image, just like it feels like it's a small building a community thing, and you're like there kind of with them, and you feel.
I think that's what I like about reading like editorials and letters and stuff in a book, because it just feels more official, because it's certainly more considered than just like a random comment that somebody shot off on the internet. Like
it's thought. Like you put thought into
thought into sending an email or a letter.
That's officially being printed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna have to. That's forever. That's
and I did want to just highlight what Tim Seeley wrote in this month's one. He talks about malaise in the comic book industry, which is actually something that I have heard quite a bit, both from creators and readers. There's
retailers
and retailers, just everybody, just malaise of kind of. There's a regular customer that comes in and he spends like $100 on comics every week, and he goes, man, just nothing excites me anymore. What's exciting? And my first thought is like, why are you spending $100 on things that don't excite you? But I'm not. No, I'm not.
No,
I'm not here to.
Steve's gonna come crashing
Steve's
through the
gonna
window.
fire me on the spot. So I was. One of the things I liked is Tim Seeley addresses that in his thing, and he just talks about like you need to just. There's so many great books out there, and I talk about them a lot on this stream. And just like find the stuff that you like. It's out there, and you got to just embrace it. And so that's why I've been pushing Local Man on every single person that comes into the store.
If you come out to Heroic Adventures, you will usually hear me talk about weird stuff like Shirtless Bear Fighter. Jurassic League was one I went really hard on. Dinosaurs is it was great.
Yep.
Sex Trembles is one of the weird ones. I try not to shout as loudly because it's also like, all right, hear me out. It's gonna be weird, okay? It's gonna get real weird, but it's gonna be good.
So, speaking of malaise, let's talk about some new Marvel number ones.
Wow.
Great segue.
I
I love it.
How'd you like that?
Wow.
So I
Love
I don't have anything against the creative team working on She-Hulk. I have no, but I will say there's an industry practice that's happening in this issue that I find offensive. It's that this is a number one issue because it's ostensibly the beginning of a new series, and you open it up and it says previously, and it explains everything that's been going on in the series because this is a series that has been running for the last 2 years. It's just that it's at its like 2 year break, and they feel like it needs a sales bump, which maybe it does. But so then they put a number one on it to try and like trick you into
get
thinking
a nice
it's
little adjective. You're sensational. I
Yeah,
can't wait
that's
for
true.
like 2 years from now we'll get your Uncanny She-Hulk and
reboot Savage She-Hulk. That was the
Savage
first
She-Hulk?
one.
That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What if she turned into a werewolf?
I feel like that has to have they have to have done that, but probably not.
Yeah.
I didn't. So I did read this issue. It's perfectly fine. It continues the previous story, but it still feels kind of awkward to me because it does feel like it has to do a lot of like setup as if it's like they are expecting a lot of new readers, which maybe they'll get. We'll see. But this is a fun little bit with these characters, the Deviants, which that's like a deep cut Marvel continuity deep cut.
Oh yeah.
Nobody knows or cares much about the Eternals. But I don't have much else to say about this issue. It is a perfectly fine Marvel comic. I see that number one, and I clench my fist just a little bit because I miss big numbers on comics.
Yeah, I understand I understand their reasoning and thought about why it makes it easier, and we see it every day. You come to the wall, you're like, oh, it's at 370. I mean, I got to read all the previous Batman Scooby Doo's. No, it's Batman Scooby. Just
right? Yeah,
just read the book.
You can just pick up any issue.
You can get it. Which number are you on?
On Emerald Stingray.
Wow.
See, I say that we're on issue new number one.
Every issue that comes out,
new.
number one.
That's so.
And the next one's all new, all different.
I didn't want to spoil the joke, Dan, but that is my plan. Every issue is just going to be number one from here on out.
Excellent. I think that's great.
So
What else?
what else we got? We've got
another number one.
Spine-tingling Spider-Man number one. Now, the only reason I picked this book off the stands is because it says the scariest Marvel book ever. Now, I don't.
Bold claims.
That's a bold claim. I appreciate the gumption, the old-fashioned Stan Lee-esque gumption of putting that on your cover. So it's far from being the scariest, but you probably already expected that.
Right.
I thought this was a pretty light first issue. Marvel puts out a lot of inconsequential Spider-Man stuff, and this feels like that to me. Like it's just we have to put out 8 Spider-Man books a month. So what do we got? And
here it is.
Here it is.
Nothing against the creative teams like Salim Ahmed has been doing fantastic work.
It did not scare me. No.
Did it tingle your spine?
No, I didn't feel a single tingle.
I think mine was more my sciatica.
yeah.
I'm old now.
That was just.
Yeah,
my intestines acting up.
It is one of those you see, and everybody has. Batman has a million different things you got to throw in there. Wolverine was Deadpool. It's certain things just move the needle.
Yeah, just enough.
Just enough to make it there. And it's there. They had the issue 0, which is also a weird thing that came out. You want to see? Was it less? Was it even a month ago?
It was
Maybe
just a few weeks, I
ago?
think. Yeah.
To catch up on, I guess, whatever kind of has been going there, which also is kind of issue 0s are always weird. Just make the number one.
Right. I agree. It's again, I just care about people being able to follow and collect the series, and so that's my ostensibly that's my problem with constant new number ones is the idea is that it's a good jumping on point, but I think it actually makes it more difficult for some people to follow a series or a character because at a certain point you have 25 different number ones that have all come out in the last 3 years, and readers go, which one do I get? Number one, number one, number one, or number
There's
one?
nothing worse than going from number one to number two and picking up the wrong number two.
Exactly.
They really need to do a better job of crediting and basing them off the creators.
Yes.
You see this sometimes, like they finally did like a collected edition, like Jason Aaron's Thor. That was one that was terrible. They relaunched. It went through several different iterations, naming little extra adjectives they threw in there.
Yep.
But like doing that, I try to tell people like try to pay attention to the creators. That's what you're going to want more than just Venom, Batman, Spider-Man. It's whose name comes after that. Whose Spider-Man run is that? Whose Batman run is that? That's what you want to follow. That's the important part. Not so much the cool, it's just number one.
Yeah, exactly. So another let's shuffle along. I got 3 more comics.
Well, number one's going to be worth something.
Yeah, well, that's what
Yep, that's sure.
It's possible. I mean, if you have the number one from 1962, it's probably worth something.
Yeah.
Crypt of Shadows number 1. I picked this up. It has a Lionel Francis. Is it? No, that's not Lionel Francis. Oh, it is. I think so.
And also, Marvel does a terrible job of crediting the people. They crediting the artists, because if you don't know their little signature or stamp kind of thing, it's really hard to tell who it is. At least like a lot of the DC ones, they'll at least put on.
They have their name on the barcode.
Where it kind of shows you.
You can kind of see there's a name on the barcode.
So you can at least kind of go and find like, oh hey, I really like this art. What else have they done? Let me check. See their name. Or
just
kind of do it
another example of how I think DC is playing the game a little bit better than Marvel right now.
A little bit.
Just enough.
It is a shame that the sales don't
reflect that. Yeah,
like they really are trying hard. They're not doing everything great. They have some bad practices too. But as far as I think we talked about it. Maybe I talked about it in my story with my guy Alex. We're talking about how the house styles, like most Marvel books, all look the same.
They look exactly the same.
All the same. They all have it's very hard to tell who's in it or who's doing that interior art.
Yeah.
And they don't allow very many things to go off that style. That was one thing actually, because we were looking through this and
I
pointed
was
out.
so surprised.
This is what brought up the conversation. There we go. I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was segueing.
Because I saw this first opening page and I'm just like, that looks like generic Marvel.
Yep.
Generic Marvel sludgy art. Yep. And then I saw the credits. I was like, Paul Azateca. He's a good artist, and I wanted to read it, and it looks great. This is like what Marvel Comics used to look really cool back in the early 2000s when guys like him were doing regular runs on characters.
Very much kind of like David Aja.
Yeah, David Aja.
That was a very unique, different style. Maybe for the time too.
It was, yeah.
And that's something that now stands out today, where a lot of that stuff doesn't. I think it's just a thing where they just don't allow different creators, like we saw Dan Mora, even Bruno Ronaldo doing different things, or being able to take some chances with some of your big flagship characters.
Yeah.
And not just having that classic, house style thing. It's
yes.
Just being able to have some fun with it. And that's where that excitement, going back to our conversation, finding that excitement in comics. Sometimes when you open those pages and you're like, wow, I have not seen art like this, or I have not seen this character drawn in this way. And that's what gets you excited. I feel like we're just kind of missing that.
I do think that exciting art is something that's missing from a lot of comics, which is why I was curious to flip through this, because it's essentially an anthology that has 4 or 5 different artists in it, and there's some good stuff in here as far as the art goes. I wish they would be doing more of their regular books. As far as the stories in this, I don't know. Did you flip through this?
I flipped through it, but I really had no interest.
It's really just it's all just short, inconsequential stories that set up bigger stories that are going to happen in all of the ongoing books related to these characters, like the Hulk and Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange.
Spider-Man's a weird one to throw in.
I was like, why is Spider-Man 29 in there? 2099, but apparently something in this is going to tie into that. I don't know. I doubt very highly that anything in this book is going to be necessary to read to understand those stories. So this is just a little thing they put out just as a little preview, just a little extra.
Kind of like what they do with their Timeless. They do at the end of every year now, where it's kind of teasing things going forward.
So, but nothing in it really excited me. But let's talk about a book I know a lot of people are excited. Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Show the cover.
Yeah.
It's look at all that.
Beautiful.
Get excited.
Very cool. So, did you read this one yet, Ben? Because I don't.
Yeah, I did. I got to
Okay.
read. We got early preview things. Of
Good,
it.
good, good.
So yeah, I am familiar with.
So
this
I know a lot of people that are pretty pumped for this because what's not to like? Godzilla, Justice League, Superman, Godzilla, King Kong, all in
Titano.
one
That's
book.
really what people
Titano. So I read this and I thought it was fine. I don't think I liked it as much as the Wolverine Predator crossover. Just to go to a more recent licensed crossover book,
thing.
and that book had Greg Land art in it. So I wish. I purposely went out of my way to not talk about it on the stream because I don't like to be overly negative.
No,
but,
no one like, and again, that's the great part about this. Art's subjective.
Yes,
I might not like it, but man, it could be your all-time favorite book, and that's totally cool. That's fine.
Just like how I don't like Susie's art, but she's actually a really good artist.
I feel so bad. Like,
she's probably
Susie,
logged off by now.
She gave up. She quit. I just gave you a compliment. So,
Wow.
So this, I was surprised to see as much like Justice League and not really Justice League. Justice League is in the title of the book, but the League of Villains or
Legion of Doom.
or Legion of Doom. Sorry,
Yeah.
Legion of Doom, like a classic version of the Legion of Doom.
Oh yes, which I actually really love. So this is not set in like current continuity or anything like that.
Right.
It is kind of its own Elseworlds fun story.
Mhm.
So you can just pick it up and enjoy.
I think that's key to when you're going to release a Justice League Godzilla book. You need to just have it be a standalone story that anybody, if you vaguely know who Godzilla and the Justice League are, then you will like this.
Yeah. But it is fun that they do take that. You actually, spoiler, you don't get a ton of Godzilla and Kong off the bat. It's gonna set up some stuff.
That's what I was about to say. I don't want to spoil too much or complain too much.
It's not a one shot. It's a 7-issue.
It's a 7-issue series.
Series.
I was
can't
a little
throw it all at once.
I was a little surprised at the lack of Godzilla in it, and I get it that they're building toward a bigger reveal for Godzilla. Except they're not, because they do there's a narrative trick that they do where they show you the story opens with the scene right before Godzilla shows up, and then it's like 12 hours later, and you kind of get everything that happened leading up to that moment, and that's fine. That is fine, but also I wanted to see more Godzilla. So that's on me though, I guess.
Who doesn't?
It
says Godzilla on the cover. You want to see Godzilla,
right? There was some nice King Kong stuff in it, just enough, just a little taste, more so than Godzilla.
Yeah.
You know what, Dan? I like King
Kong. Ain't got nothing on him.
Look, that's true.
Godzilla, King Kong, Godzilla's always
one other thing I do want to make a special mention that I wasn't sure would be the case, but clearly is that this is kind of taking place in the current new movies.
The monster
story, the MonsterVerse
is what they call it.
The Kong of Skull Island and the Godzilla versus King Kong. That movie, this is apparently, I'm assuming it's tied to those movies in some way, because you see here this monster here. That's the Skull Crawlers, as John C. Reilly calls them, because it sounds cool. And so I was like, oh, that's the thing from the movie. So this is just okay, this is Skull Island from the movie, except now the Justice League is there. So there's some neat stuff. It does feel a lot like kind of set up for a longer story arc. It feels like, you know what, I would say this really feels more like it's a script for a movie, and this is just like the intro scene, and it feels less like a comic books story, like for a single issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue against that. Again, I also read it. I watched Godzilla vs. Kong. I've seen this stuff. It's fine. They're fun. It's fun popcorn action flick. It's not gonna oh my god, Eisner Award winning Godzilla versus Justice League versus King Kong. This will be talked about for 30 years. Our grandchildren will be in love with this. It's not that, and it doesn't have to be. It's just fun popcorn. It's cool. Big monkey, go bam.
I think the people that like King Kong and Godzilla are gonna enjoy it just fine.
Yeah, no, if you love those, you love
it. That was not.
King
Kong. No, I like Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I just said
I've paid money to see all of these things over the years.
We've been talking about one of my favorite books coming out right now is Godzilla: War for Humanity by Andrew McLean and Jake Smith. So there, Dan. Okay. But I will say Justice League, Godzilla, King Kong. It is no Godzilla: War for Humanity. That's all I can say. Okay, final issue. We gotta speed this along. Wow, this is gonna be the longest episode. We should have you over
Have you
more
over
often, Ben.
right?
So this issue, Beneath the Trees. I always ask a coworker to give me a book to read, and I didn't do that this week, but I think it was my wife, and I'm gonna get in trouble if it was, and I don't remember that it was. Somebody showed me a picture of this cover many months ago, and they were like, "Look at this. This looks really cool, and this looks like something you would like." So it might have been my wife, might have been a friend or a coworker, or it might have just been a random person on the internet. Who knows? But I loved this comic. So this is Beneath the Trees. It is by Patrick Horvath, sorry. Ben, did you have a chance to read this? Did you flip through it?
I got to flip through a bit, but I didn't get to sit down and actually read it. I just kind of remember what the solicit text was when we ordered it, and kind of the general kind of.
So it's I immediately was just suckered in by the art. You know, I talked about the Wild's End. I love talking animals. This gave me a lot of vibes of Black Sad. If you've ever read Black Sad, which is just in terms of having like the lush, colorful art, but then like a darker tone to the narrative. Black Sad is a straight noir, like a detective noir, whereas this is more of a
Which reminds me like Richard Scarry or like Berenstain Bears.
Berenstain Bears. It's a little bit more cartoony with the character design, than Black Sad. Black Sad was going for very ultra realistic, but it does, and that's kind of that's the goal. Is that this is a horror comic, even though
don't let your kids read this. I will tell you that much.
It looks like it's a fun, silly comic, but essentially the main character is a serial killer, and she lives in a small town, and she goes to the big city to find victims, and then she murders them. And then there's a twist at the end of the issue, which I don't know if I want to necessarily spoil, but there's also no way to spoil it, or there's no way to like kind of talk about like where this is going, like what the plot is about, without kind of spoiling it. But I don't want to show any of the
maybe when issue 2 comes. Give the people
that's kind of my thought. Like I don't.
You want to have that impact when you hit that final bit,
right?
There's nothing quite like that.
Correct. Yeah, so I just want to say that it's a beautiful looking comic. It's got that like colorful watercolor tone to it, but then there's like a dark kind of plot of that involves serial killers, which you can imagine is going to be dark if it's going to be about a serial killer. So definitely looking forward to issue 2. I think this is one that people will enjoy if you like kind of quirky. This is kind of like a, I don't want to give it away, but it's sort of like a something meets something kind of a book. But I can't say that without giving away like what's going on, you know. So issue 2 will probably
Dexter meets the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, so that's actually exactly what I was going to say. So we'll just say that Dexter versus Berenstain Bears, or not versus.
I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that.
I read that comic.
Yeah. I just
coming soon, 2024.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, it's got a very Dexter vibe to it, to the tone and the story, but with colorful, cute animals.
Yeah, which everyone loves.
Getting dismembered in horrific ways.
I mean, kids love Five Nights at Freddy's now, right?
Man, you ain't even kidding about that.
My nephews and niece, it scares me. I'm like, why are you into this? I think it's because they didn't grow up with Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah,
they don't know the actual horror.
Yeah,
like the horror part of like
the awkward animatronics that are like too jerky.
Yeah, too jerky.
Yep. All right, that's it for today. Dan, do you got anything you want to say to sign us off, or are you just going to click the off button?
I just want to say thank you guys for letting me come in and to do this.
Yeah, happy.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
I would love to. I'm on vacation right now from my store. And I usually work Tuesdays. That's the unfortunate part. I used to do a little thing for our store, a little smaller version of this.
Maybe we can get
not
a
as great, like
link
way worse production value.
Figure it out. We can link it up.
I would love to if we could do it and find the time to do it. I would love to sit here. I talk comics all day. That's probably why I'm good at my job.
Yeah. All right. The only other thing I'll say is, Susie, we love your art. Dan's the one who told me to say all those negative things about you. Okay. End of the episode. Thanks, everybody. We'll see y'all next time.